The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 1. Now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David had returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had stayed 2 days in Ziklag. It had come to pass on the 3rd day, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he had came to David, that he fell on the earth and did obeisance. And David said unto him, From whence comest thou? And he said unto him, Out of the camp of Israel am I escaped. And David said unto him, How went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, The people have fled from battle, and many of the people also have fallen and dead, and Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also. And David said unto the young man who told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son are dead? The young man who told him said, As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul followed hard after him. Behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called after me, and I answered, Here am I. And he said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. And he said unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me, for anguish is upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure he could not live after he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head, and the bracelet that was on his arm, and I brought them hither unto my Lord. And David took hold on his clothes and rent them, and likewise all the men who were with him. And they mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and Jonathan his son. And the people of the Lord, and for the people of the Lord, and the house of Jonathan, and for the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. And David said unto the young man who told him, From whence art thou? And he answered, I am a stranger, son of a stranger, an Amalekite. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thy hand and destroy the Lord's anointed? And David called one of the young men and said, Go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him, Thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth has testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed. And David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. Also he bade them teach the children of Judah to use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, The beauty of Israel is slain upon the high places. How are the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Ashkelon. Let the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let the rain be upon you, nor fields of offering. For there the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, the sword of Saul returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and the death they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you with scarlet, with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed over thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. How the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished. Chapter 2. And it came to pass after this, Jonathan inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up unto any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said to him, Go up. And David said, Whither shall I go up? And he said, Unto Hebron. And David went up thither, and his 2 wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite, and his men who were with him, did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying, The men of Jabesh Gilead were those who buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, saying unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have shown this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah has anointed me king over them. But Abner, son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. And the time when David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon, and Joab, son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together in the pool of Gibeon, and they sat down, and one on one side of the pool, and on the other, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, Let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, Let them arise. And they arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, who pertained to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one his fellow by the hand, and thrust his sword through his fellow's side. And they fell down together before the place was called Helkath Hazarium, that is, Field of the Strong Men, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, and Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was the light of foot as a wild roe, and Asahel pursued after Abner. As in going, he turned not to the right hand nor to the left, following Abner. Then Abner looked behind him and said, Art thou Asahel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, Turn thee aside to the right hand or to the left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. And Abner said again to Asahel, Turn thee aside from following me. Why should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother? However, he refused to turn aside. Therefore Abner, with the rear end of his spear, smote him unto the 5th rib, so that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down to the earth, fell down there, and died. In the same place. And it came to pass, as soon as that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died, stood still. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they had came to the hill of Ammah, and lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together behind Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of the hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people to return from following their brethren? And Joab said, As God liveth, unless thou hast spoken, surely then in the morning these people would have gone up every one from following his brother. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night, and through the plain, and passed over the Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men and Asahel. But the servants of David had smitten some of Benjamin, and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. And they took of Asahel, and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at the break of day. Chapter 3. Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, but David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And unto David were sons born in Hebron, and his firstborn was Amnon of Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and his second Chileab of Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom son of Maachah the daughter of Talmai king of Geshur, and the fourth Adonijah son of Haggith, and the fifth Saphatah son of Abital, the sixth Ithream by Eglah David's wife. These were born to David in Hebron. And it came to pass, while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine, whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, Why hast thou gone into my father's concubine? And when Abner was very wroth with the words of Ishbosheth, and said, Am I a dog's head, who against Judah to show kindness this day in the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren and his friends, and not delivered thee into the hand of David? That thou chargest me today with a fault concerning this woman? God so do to Abner, and more so, unless, as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. And he could not answer Abner a word again, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, Whose land is it? Saying also, Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee, to bring about all Israel unto thee. And he said, Well, I will make a league with thee. But one thing I require of thee, that is, thou shalt not see my face, unless thou first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when thou comest to see my face. And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, Deliver me my wife Michal, whom I exposed to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, even from Paltiel, son of Laish. And her husband went along with her, weeping behind her, to Bahurim. Then said Abner unto him, Go, return. And he returned. And Abner had communicated with the elders of Israel, saying, Ye sought for David in times to be king over you. Now then do it. And the Lord hath spoken to David, saying, By my hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel out of the hand of the Philistines, and out of the hand of all their enemies. And Abner also spoken in the ears of Benjamin. And Abner went also to speak in the ears of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Israel, and seemed good to the house of Benjamin. And Abner came to David in Hebron, and 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men who were with him a feast. And Abner said unto David, I will rise and go, and will gather all Israel unto my Lord and King, that they may make a league with thee, and that thou mayest reign over all that thine heart desirest. And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop, and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and had gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that was with them came, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and sent him away, and he is gone in peace. Then Joab came to the king and said, What hast thou done? Behold, Abner came to thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away? And he is quite gone. Thou knowest, Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee, and to know thy going out and thy coming in, and to know all that thou doest. And when Joab had come out from David, he sent messengers to Abner, who brought him back from the well of Sirah. But David knew it not. And when Abner had returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside to the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him under the 5th rib, so that he died. For the blood of Asahel his brother. And afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord, forever from the blood of Abner the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on his father's house, and let it never fall from the house of Joab, one who hath an issue, or one who is a leper, or who leaneth on his staff, or who falleth on the sword, or who lacketh bread. So Joab and Abishai his brother slew Abner, because he slain their brother Asahel in Gibeon in the battle. And David said to Joab and all the people who were with him, Rend your clothes and gird yourselves with sackcloth, and mourn mourn before Abner. And King David himself followed the bier, and they buried Abner in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and the people wept. And David lamented after Abner and said, Died Abner as a fool dieth? Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put in fetters. As a man falleth before wicked men, so fellest thou. And the people wept again over him. And when all the people came to cause David to eat meat, while it was yet day, David swore, saying, So do God to me, and more also, if I taste bread, or aught else till the sun be down. And all the people took notice of it, and it pleased them, as whatsoever the king did pleased all the people. For all the people in all Israel understood that day that it was not because of the king that Abner the son of Ner was slain. And the king said to his servants, Know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? And I am this day weak, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too hard for me. The Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. Chapter 4. And when Saul's men heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble. When Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had 2 men who were captains of companies. The name of one was Baanah, the name of the other was Rechab. And the sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite of the children of Benjamin, for Beeroth also was reckoned of Benjamin. And the Beerothites fled to Gittim and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came to Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, Rechab of and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came thither unto the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat. And they smote him unto the 5th rib. And Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. For when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber, and they smote him, and slew him, and beheaded him, and took his head, and got themselves away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David at Hebron, and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, who sought thy life, and the Lord hath avenged my lord, the king, this day, of Saul and his seed. And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, and said unto him, As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of the adversary? When one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag. He thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. How much more, when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed? Shall I not therefore now require his blood at your hand, and take you away from earth? And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, and cut off their hands and their feet, and hung them over the pool of Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. Chapter 5. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spoke, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Also in time past, when Saul the king was over us, thou wast he that leddest out and broughtest in Israel. And the Lord said unto thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be captain over Israel. So all elders of Israel came to the king of Hebron, and King David made a league with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites and inhabitants of the land, who spoke unto David, saying, Unless thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come hither, thinking David cannot come in hither. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion, the same is the city of David. And David said on that day, Whosoever getteth up through the gutter and smiteth the Jebusites, and the lame and the blind, who are hated in David's soul, he shall be chief and captain. Therefore they said, The blind and the lame shall not come unto the house. So David dwelt in the fortress, and called it the city of David. And David built round about from the Milo and inward. And David went on and grew great, and the Lord God of hosts was with him. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters and masons, and they built David a house. And David perceived that the Lord had established him king over Israel, and that he exalted his kingdom for his people, Israel's sake. And David took more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he had come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born to David. And these were the names of those who were born unto him in Jerusalem: Shammua, and Shobab, and Nathan, and Solomon. Ibhar also, and Elishua, and Nepheg, and Japhia, and Elishama, and Elidah, and Eliphet. But when the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, the Philistines came up to seek David. And David heard of it, and went down to the stronghold. The Philistines also came and spread themselves to the valley of Rephaim. And David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up to the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into mine hand? And the Lord said to David, Go up, I will surely deliver the Philistines into thine hand. And David came to Baal Perazim, and David smote them there, and said, The Lord hath broken forth upon mine enemies before me, as the breach of waters. Therefore he called the name of that place Baal Perazim, that is, the plain of breaches. And there they left their images, and David and his men burned them. And the Philistines came up again and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. And when David inquired of the Lord, he said, Thou shalt not go up, but pass around behind them, and come up upon them over against the mulberry trees. And let it be, when thou hearest the sound of moving in the tops of the mulberry trees, that thou shalt bestir thyself, for then shall the Lord go out before thee to smite the host of the Philistines. And David did so, and the Lord had commanded, as the Lord had commanded him, and smote the Philistines from Geba as far as Gezer. Chapter 6. Again David gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000, and David arose and went with all the people who were with him from Baal of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, who dwelleth between the cherubim. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was at Gibeah, and Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Aminadab, drove the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark, and David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord, and all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even on harps, and on psalteries, and timbrels, and cornets, and cymbals. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand on the ark of God, and took hold, for the oxen shook it, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah. And God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark by the ark of God. And David was displeased because the Lord had broken out upon Uzzah, and he called the name of that place Perez Uzzah, that is, the breach of Uzzah, to this day. And David was afraid of the Lord that day, and said, How shall the ark of the Lord come to me? So David would not remove the ark of the Lord unto him into the city of David, but David carried it aside to the house of Obed-Edom in the Gittite. And the ark of the Lord continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months, and the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. And it was told King David, saying, The Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertain unto him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom unto the city of David with gladness. And it was so, that when those who bore the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And David danced before the Lord with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with sound of the trumpet. And as the ark of the Lord came to the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. And they brought in the ark of the Lord, and set it in his place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, to every one a cake of bread, and a good piece of flesh, and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, every one to his house. Then David returned to bless his household, and Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet David, and said, How glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovereth himself. And David said unto Michal, It was before the Lord who chose me before thy father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore will I play before the Lord, and I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in mine own sight, and the maidservants whom thou hast spoken of, and them shall I be held in honor. Therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children unto the day of her death. Chapter 7. And it came to pass, when the king sat in his house, the Lord had given him rest round about from all his enemies, that the king said to Nathan the prophet, See now, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth without curtains. And Nathan said unto the king, Go, do all that is in thine heart, for the Lord is with thee. And it came to pass that night, the word of the Lord came to Nathan, saying, Go and tell my servant David, Thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt build me a house for me to shalt thou build me a house for me to dwell in? For I have not dwelt in any house since my time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt unto this day, but have walked in a tent and in a tabernacle. In all places wherein I have walked with the children of Israel, spoke I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people of Israel, saying, Why build ye not me a house of cedar? Now therefore, so shalt I say unto my servant David, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, from following the sheep, to be ruler over my people, over Israel. And I was with thee whithersoever thou wentest, and I have cut off all thine enemies out of thy sight, and I have made thee a great name, like unto the name of the great men who are on earth. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and I will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more, as before, and as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies. As the Lord telleth thee, that he will make thee a house, and when thy days be fulfilled, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up seed after thee, who shall proceed out of thy loins, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, he will be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chastise him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men, but my mercy shall not depart away from him. As I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee, and thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. According to all these words, and according to all this vision, so did Nathan speak to David. Then went King David in and sat before the Lord, and he said, Who am I, O Lord God? And what is my house, that thou hast brought me hereto? And this was yet a small thing to thy sight, O Lord God. But thou hast spoken also of thy servant's house for a great while to come. And is this the manner of man, O Lord God? And what can David say more unto thee? For thou, Lord God, knowest thy servant, for thy word's sake, and according to thine own heart hast thou done all these great things to make thy servant known them. Therefore thou art great, O Lord God, for thou is none like thee, neither is there any God beside thee, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And what one nation on earth is like thy people, even like Israel, whom God went to redeem for a people to himself, and to make him a name, and to do for you great things, and fearsome for thy land before thy people, whom thou redeemed to thee from Egypt, from the nations and their gods. For thou hast confirmed for thyself thy people Israel to be a people unto thee forever, and thou, Lord, art become their God. And now, O Lord God, the word that thou hast spoken concerning thy servant, concerning his house, establish it forever, and do as thou hast said, and let thy name be magnified forever, saying, The Lord of hosts is the God over Israel, and let the house of thy servant David be established before thee. For thou, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, hast revealed to thy servant, saying, I will build thee a house. Therefore thy servant found in his heart to pray this prayer unto thee. And now, O Lord, thou art that God, and thy word is true, and thou hast promised this goodness unto thy servant. Therefore, now let it please thee to bless the house of thy servant, that it may continue forever before thee. For thou, O God, Lord God, hast spoken it, and with thy blessing let the house of thy servant be blessed forever. Chapter 8. And after this came to pass, that David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Metheg-Abnah out of the hand of the Philistines, and he smote Moab, and measured them with a line, casting them down to the ground, even with 2 lines measured he those to be put to death, and with 1 full line those to be kept alive. So the Moabites became David's servants and brought gifts. David smote also Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah, and he went to recover his border in the king at the river of Euphrates. And David took from him 1,000 chariots and 700 horsemen and 20,000 footmen, and David hamstrung all the chariot horses, but reserved enough of them for 100 chariots. And when the Syrians of Damascus came to succor Hadadezer, king of Zobah, he slew the Syrians, 22,000 men. And David put garrisons in Syria of Damascus, and the Syrians became servants to David and brought gifts. And the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. And David took shields of gold that were on the servants of Hadadezer, and brought them to Jerusalem, and from Betah and from Berothai, cities of Hadadezer, King David took exceeding much brass. When Toi, king of Hamath, heard that David had smitten all the host of Hadadezer, then Toi sent Joram his son to King David to salute him and bless him, because he had fought against Hadadezer and smitten him. For Hadadezer had wars with Toi. And Joram brought with him vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of brass, which also King David dedicated to the Lord. With the silver and gold he had dedicated of all nations which he subdued, of Syria, Moab, the children of Ammon, and of the Philistines, and of Amalek, and the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. And David got him a name when he returned from smiting the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being of 18,000 men. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom he put garrisons, and all those of Edom became David's servants. And the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. And David reigned over all Israel, and David executed judgment and justice unto all his people. And Joab, son of Zeruiah, was over the host, and Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was recorder, and Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, the son of Abiathar, were the priests, and Sariah was the scribe, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over both the Cherethites and the Pelethites, and David's sons were chief rulers. Chapter 9. And David said, Is there yet any that is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? And there was of the house of Saul a servant whose name was Ziba. And when they called him unto David, the king said unto him, Art thou Ziba? And he said, Thy servant is he. And the king said, Is there not yet any in the house of Saul, that I may show kindness of God unto him? And Ziba said unto him, Jonathan hath yet a son, who is lame in his feet. And the king said unto him, Where is he? And Ziba said unto him, Behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lo-debar. And King David sent and fetched for him out of the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, from Lo-debar. And when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, had come unto David, he fell on his face and did reverence. And David said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, Behold thy servant. And David said unto him, Fear not, for I will surely show thee kindness, and Jonathan thy father's sake. And I will restore thee all the land of Saul thy father, and thou shalt eat bread at my table continually. And he bowed himself and said, What is thy servant, that thy servant should look upon such a dead dog as I am? And the king called to Ziba, Saul's servant, and said unto him, I will give unto thy master's son all that pertain unto Saul and all his house. Thou therefore and thy sons and thy servant shall till the land for him, and shall bring in thy fruits, that thy master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, thy master's son, shall eat bread always at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then said Ziba unto the king, According to all the Lord thy king hath commanded to thy servant, so shall thy servant do. As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table as one of the king's sons. And Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah. And all who dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants unto Mephibosheth. And Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, and he ate continually at the king's table, and was lame in both his feet.